Alright. So let us begin the session. So, Michelangelo, right?
Yep, that would be me now.
Right, confirm that. So tell me, what exactly can you tell me about yourself? Or what your current case is about?
Well, Doc, where do I really begin with this one? Because, well, I don't really want to sound like that much of a psychic, nor to think that I'm on something, but, being honest with you, I see dead people.
I'm sorry, what?
Nah, I'm just kidding, Doc. I was actually listening to some K-Dot on the way here, because I was listening to that one song, and I was like, okay, yeah, I definitely need to pull this off. And so, yeah, it definitely worked right there. But hey, look, even though years of traumatic events, I still got it right there.
Oh dear God. Thank goodness. Alright, now with the jokes, because I almost. Okay, I'm gonna be honest right now, because I almost thought that I was about to be in a Bruce Willis film, but okay, yeah, I will have to admit, that was actually a pretty good one.
I sure did know you say that, but serious note, I do actually see my dead brother sometimes.
Alright, so a little bit of a rough start, so talks to his dead brothers.
And talk to them as well.
And speaks to them as well. And what exactly do you and your brothers talk about exactly?
Nothing really that much out of the ordinary, just occasional family drama here and there. Which, by the way, I do actually remember this one time that we were having this deep conversation where eventually I was like, okay, yeah, this is getting way too good. You know, why don't I just pick up my brother's sword and, well, you know.
Okay, now that quickly escalated right there. Now, I am believed to be of assistance that maybe this is all because of the supposed death of your brothers and your father as well. Why don't we talk about that exactly? Like, what exactly led to these events of how you turned out to, well, the way that you are now? How can you explain it to me?
Where to basically just start off? Well, let's start off with the obvious one that just had to go, and that was Raphael.
Okay, and Raphael. Alright. And why exactly do you say that?
Well, let's start off with the obvious. One, it's Raphael that we're talking about. You know, your occasional short-tempered hothead who, if nothing goes to plan, instant crash out, alright? He basically just crashes out over everything. Especially just the smallest of things. In other words, just in shorter terms, he's a person that you just don't want to mess with nor to joke with. And trust me, I learned that the hard way, of course.
I suppose tempered problems.
I guess that on this very precise day, it was really put to the test because there was this one time where we were ambushed and our father, unfortunately, had some very fatal wounds and, well, almost died in the process, but unfortunately, actually didn't, but still, Ralph was not having it, alright? He was not happy at all. And so he decided that, well, it's probably now a good time to play the hero and immediately go alone with the short temper and take down the Foot Clan that ambushed us.
Okay, so that is supposedly a risky move of him to just do on his own, but hey, by the looks of it, maybe he just did it to, well, to avenge your father's supposed death or probable death. And hey, he probably just seems like he has just a great attitude of fighting towards the end, you know? Maybe that's why he did it in the end.
Yeah, fight until the very end because that was his very last battle.
Oh my, that's sure something predictable, but I mean, hey, in the end, his death was like supposed, considering that a risky move can sometimes lead to death eventually in most cases. But hey, I don't think. But hey, in the end, short people with temper really don't deserve to go out like that. You know?
Yeah, I would say that I was actually like expecting Ralph to die, considering that it was that type of mission, but that still didn't explain why Leo and Casey had to go at the same time.
Okay, we can now get to that, I guess. But I have a doubt though. What exactly like led you guys to like be in this type of conflict with a supposed group, especially like the Foot Clan? What exactly was the feud behind this all?
For a little bit of context of what we were trying to achieve was a peace treaty for me and my family and the Foot Clan, so that way we could just part ways of not fighting each other anymore. No more wars, no more blood spilled. Just basically just leave each other alone and just mind each other's business for once. Which apparently, I guess, it just had to cost us some lives now.
Alright, so I can suppose from your reaction that this was pretty nerve-wracking for you. So, can you explain to me what exactly happened between all this?
I remember this day as if it was yesterday, when Baxter Stockman decided to throw an ambush attack on us and completely decimate, obliterate, and destroy all of our troops and reinforcements, so that way we had no other choice but to back away and retreat to safety, only for Leo and Casey to step up and be the heroes for once, to just back them off a little bit, and to just get pizza when we were done, only for them to just blow up in our faces and cause every single piece of debris to fall on top of us. Now, me, of course, I survived. April was fine, but of course, she unfortunately had to lose a leg and an arm at the same exact time. And Donatello and Splinter, I guess that they also went off. So everybody was all good except for Leonardo and Casey. Just why? Out of all people, why did one of my two favorite people just had to go off like that? Like, just why? Was that really necessary?
My god, that's very devastating right there to hear. And especially for your friend April as well. I mean, my condolences because, well, I personally have a family member that suffered from that. And yeah, there are difficulties to adjusting to those ligaments and transplants. I mean, hey, it's not easy at all. So yeah, I definitely understand.
Oh yeah, and she was also pregnant at the same time.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, and apparently the baby also turned out to have a little bit mutant gen on us because, well, I guess it must have been it's some sort of fancy science stuff that only, I guess, that Donatello would explain, but apparently because of the explosion that they were to us when we were around, it's a complicated thing, alright? I'll just leave that to Donatello to explain.
That's very interesting. So, exactly after all of this happened, what exactly did you do after this? Where were you?
Oh, I ran away.
So, you basically ran away to, like, because of you surviving this or something?
Not like run away like a coward type of way, but more like just run off to somewhere where I can basically just meditate, relax, and get my strength back up. Only to which I then find out that both my brother and father are now presumably dead.
Oh my, and you guys barely even survived that rubble, so how exactly did their death basically occur?
So apparently, even still after witnessing both Leo and Casey get sent straight to the gulag, apparently my father was still able to do the peace treaty in order to preserve peace and no more wars with the Foot Clan once and for all.
Very impressive there. That actually just shows his determination and patience that he is willing to take, especially after his supposed death. So, how exactly did it turn out?
Yeah, it may have seemed like all sunshine and rainbows were approaching when they actually weren't, because apparently their assistants were trying to be persistent and still trying to sign the contract even though their leader wasn't present there to be there to sign it and agree to it. So yeah, it all escalated quickly until their leader decided to finally show up and straight up just insult both my father and brother.
Oh well, that ain't no leader that I know. Looks like he's just there for just smoking. That's it.
Yeah, tell me about it. They were going at it. They were just straight up talking smack to each other, everything and all, until it all just escalated quickly. That it all just went loose. A whole war broke out. I mean, hey, bodies dropping everywhere, blood being spilled everywhere, and still him just being still persistent, and then just still smoking on my dead family's back. And so just like that, Splinter decided to, well, that's it. I had enough of your words. You're in. This is your end. and so proceeded to then, with his last breath, throw his sword right at him to eventually come to his wombs and then just die off. And then just die off like the real G that he was, alongside my brother, who was then arrowed down to death.
Well, my god, you're just losing family members left and right, I see. But now, tell me, out of all the deaths itself, which one do you think like impacted you the most to be this way?
But yeah, I definitely do have to say that every single one of their deaths really was honorable, but I hate to be selfish, but most definitely mine had to be the saddest one.
Excuse my inconvenience. What?
What, you didn't think I'd die in this story? No. If you thought that their deaths were a lot to process, mine is the most saddest of them all. In fact, no one even suspected that I would be known as the last Ronin. In fact, they would suspect that I would be the first one to die. No, I'm the one that is the protagonist. I'm the main protagonist of this story. Like, to expect me to be the funny and charismatic guy only to end up being the most traumatized one out of the whole Turtle Brothers? Nah. I would be the least suspected. But yeah, in the end, I do actually die.
Well, for you to have confidence to say that, I must say, yours must have been pretty sad to see. So, what exactly happened with you?
Well, for a quick summarization, I would say that after I eventually heard about their deaths, eventually that served as a motivation to just get better and get stronger, until eventually I then became known as the Last Ronin, hence of course the title of the book though. And eventually just going to New York, eventually meeting up with April and meeting her daughter at last again. And until eventually we then planned out this whole strike team attack. Basically, a lot of things just happen until the final showdown.
Alright, final showdown. So, how did it turn out?
Yeah, like I said, this is basically the final showdown. It's me versus this guy who apparently, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but it's the grandson of Shredder. So I guess that way it really does make sense of why he hates us a lot, but still. I face off against him and he's in this like armored suit. He's like all tatted up. He's basically just packed up, alright? He's in this all white silvery suit. And I'm just like, can't be that bad. Until eventually I then throw in the first punches, I then realize that this dude is not a normal dude. Nah, this guy is all roided up. In fact, anytime that I just strike a punch on this dude and I do some damage onto that suit, it just regenerates. And I'm like, okay, at this point, throw me in the ring for the Terminator because I'm already just fighting one already.
Well, he must have been a tough opponent then. Continue.
We were just going all out, alright? We were just throwing punch to punch, back to back, until eventually, at the very end, we then get flushed out into the soup by sewage water, and then eventually that's where I then blow the final blow on him, and eventually electrocute him with his own suit, which unfortunately does also electrocute me while also being injured. But in the end, I end up winning, and yeah, I end up in land trying to breathe once more until my last one. And just like that, that's how I then just come to my wombs. I say my final goodbyes, and yeah, I die. And that's the end of the story.
Well, after all of that you just told me, I'm like, okay, that is a lot to process there. And that was quite a journey. And that indeed was a journey that you had to take. I mean, you sure did went through a lot. How exactly did you manage to get through all this?
I mean, it's not all that bad. Like, I do get a happy ending in the end since, well, I do end up seeing all of my dead brothers in the end. I get reunited with Casey as well. Hey, and even Master Splinter's there with us as well. And so, yeah, I guess that in the end, I ended up winning. But still, though, I still really needed to get that pizza.
Well, Michelangelo, this is quite indeed the most interesting story that I've ever had been told by many of my patients, and I receive a lot of them, but this one right here is just heart touching. But unfortunately, well, I would like to talk more, but I guess that will be our time for tonight. So I guess that session is over for now.
Yeah, tell me about it. That was quite a bit of a mouthful there. Which, speaking of mouthful, I actually do need to get going since I did actually skip breakfast on the way here. So, and I'm actually thinking about getting pizza, and yeah. But anyways, if you're down to come, I can also invite you for some pizza. So, you want some or what?
Why not? Because I am hungry though, anyways. But on one condition though.
Well, I mean, it basically just depends. What's the agreement to that?
What do you think of pineapple on the side?
Oh, absolutely